What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the last and final mock draft. It's Wednesday, April 23rd, the draft being tomorrow. Everything after this, man, will all be reaction based. And, we're done kind of playing hypothetical GM. We'll kind of see where these teams ended up going, what they ended up doing. I'm sure we'll have some picks that we love, picks that we hate, as usual. And I think what's kind of unique about this draft and all you've been hearing recently is how, crazy that this draft may get. There may be a player that you can get here in the mid 20s that will be the same caliber of player as 10 through 13. Is that the case? I don't know. I think if you really take a dive into this draft class, I think you find some guys, in my opinion, some tiers ahead of others. So, with that being said, man, not going to bore anybody. Let's get right into the swing of things. Not going to do too much like player not evaluation, but like player opinion, because A, we've already done a couple mock drafts on the channel. B, I want this to kind of be a good pace, good short video, because it's kind of just my last and final predictions before the first round starts tomorrow. So we're starting it off here. Cam Ward, number one, upgrading in the quarterback room. Winnable division, in my opinion. Seems like a pretty good quarterback in the Brian Callahan system. So would it be the pick if I were the GM? I don't know. We'll see. I think Mike Berganzi looks back at this a couple years if Cam Ward doesn't pan out and ultimately regrets on passing who the number two pick is, Travis Hunter, to the Browns. I think he solidified this at the Colorado Pro Day where him and Shedeur and a couple other guys, Shiloh, worked out. So Travis Hunter, play him wide receiver, play him at corner. He says he wants to do both. We'll see what ends up happening. I hope we get to see him more as a receiver than we do corner, but either way, generational player. Whether he ends up panning out, good or not, we've never saw a prospect like this go two ways, where you're top three in position on both sides of the ball. So Travis Hunter, number two of the Browns, not much to be said. And now we sit here at three with the Giants. Is it Abdul Carter? Is it Shedeur? Obviously, the owner. I think the owner wants Shedeur, and then I think it's Joe Shane may have knocked some sense into himself, and Dable ultimately kind of want somebody who's going to impact right now because they're coaching and, being the GM for their job this upcoming season, which is why I think they ultimately do take Carter and see if the Sanders fall starts. I really don't think the Saints are going to pick him at 9, the more I'm seeing. So maybe they trade back up and jump into the mid-teens here to take Shedeur later on. We'll see. And this draft, no trades, so I'll kind of throw that out there as well. Pick 4 with the Patriots. As much and as sexy as I would like to go with Ashton Jeanty, I just can't bring myself to do it. I can't bring myself to. I would do it. I would do it, but I know they're not going to do it. They're going to go Will Campbell to play left tackle, pair up with Morgan Moses, who they brought over from the Jets. On that right side, you give Drake May really good protection on the edges, in my opinion. Say what you want about Will Campbell, the arm length, all this. You watch his tape, it's like, I don't know. Some of the pressure rates, the numbers maybe are a little inflated. If you actually watch it, he's giving up some, I don't know. I don't buy it. I think he's good. I think he's a left tackle prospect. End of the day, I don't think this is the case, but if he doesn't work out, you are getting a generational, Quentin Nelson type guard. And yes, that doesn't look good taking that at 4, but who cares? Ask the Eagles, man. They if they were picking somewhere in the top 5 and Carter was gone, I would imagine that'd be the first trench guy. They would opt for Will Campbell, Mimbu, so they would take the offensive lineman prospect over Jeanty, I would imagine, here in the top 5. So I'm going to stay. I'm not going to get sexy with it yet, so I'll stay with Will Campbell for to the Patriots. Bring us to pick 5, and this is the true wild card of this first 10 picks, in my opinion. I saw betting odds. Jeanty is like plus 120 to go here. Do what you want with that. I think Vegas is just trying to make a little bit of extra coin. I do not think Jeanty is in play here. I liked what I saw from Bigsby last year. I think ETN gets healthy. He was dealing with some stuff last year. I think it was hamstring specifically. So Gladstone comes over from the Rams, and in my opinion, this is McMillan or Mason Graham. And I think after Gladstone saw the the difference that drafting Jared Verse in the first round, Braden Fisk in the second, investing in that defensive line, I ultimately think it's going to be Mason Graham here at 5. One of the more underrated prospects here in the top 10 because we're talking about Campbell, Carter, Hunter, Ward, and some of these other guys who are going to go here in the top 10. We really don't talk a lot about defensive lineman Mason Graham out of Michigan. Little undersized, but that's okay because he's going to get nasty down there in the trenches and make things happen. So I like that pick at 5. Relatively safe. If you want to draft a running back, get it later. It's a great running back draft class. That's how I feel about it. But I say that about running backs. I'm taking Ashton Jeanty here to the Raiders 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. If you look at the numbers of Geno Smith with play action like a good play action in play, a good running back in general, versus when he doesn't have a run game, it's night and day difference. It's almost two completely different quarterbacks. So I think Ashton Jeanty, first off, is just a no-brainer pick for a team that desperately needs a running back. I mean, Sincere McCormick was taking snaps and starting games for you in the season this last year, so that speaks volumes. You thought Samir White was going to be some kind of prospect or whatever. It turns out he's Mike Davis 2.0. If you know who that is, congrats on the ball knowledge. So yeah, they're going to go Ashton Jeanty. He's got generational. Day one, 1,300 or more yard prospect, in my opinion. I can't miss, dare I say. There's a reason he's the best running back, generational running back draft class. You get him here at 6. Keep on going on. Build your draft class through him, in my opinion. Pick 7 here with the Jets. You bring in Justin Fields. I know, obviously, the couple mock drafts that we did with my friend Brady, he likes Tedero and McMillan here to pair with Wilson. Justin Fields. Me, on the other hand, I like Membu here. I like Armand Membu to pair with Olu Fashanu. Same way the Patriots go here. Will Campbell at 4 with Campbell and Morgan Moses. Morgan Moses obviously departing from the Jets to go over there. You replace him with Armand Membu, who has really, really, really good film. Had a great combine, which I think ultimately made him rise to kind of the cream of the crop here. Wouldn't be surprised to see Membu and Campbell potentially flip. Like, that's how high I think a lot of teams are on Membu in this draft class. So Jets at 7, I think you stick and pick. Replace that. Don't go wide receiver yet. Really no defensive prospect here, in my opinion, to take. Will Johnson would maybe be a reach here at 7. So play it safe. Take your tackle at 7. Shore up the edges for Justin Fields and continue on with that. Another pick here for the Carolina Panthers, pretty easy. They came out and said it publicly. I think if he is there, I don't think it's a smokescreen or a bluff. I think Jalen Walker is the pick here at 8. A off-ball linebacker / edge. Just put him wherever the hell you want on defense, and he's going to make a play. That's as simple as it gets. I mean, my favorite player in the draft, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think the polarizing thing with Jalen Walker is his better football days are ahead of him. I don't think this guy has reached his full potential yet. So I think we could look back at this pick later on and be like, Jalen Walker went 8? Holy smokes. Like that's how I think this pick will kind of be addressed 3-5 years from now. And a team that just desperately needs help on both sides of the ball, yes, but specifically that defense is just historically bad. And well, oh my gosh, you're passing on Tedero McMillan. Why? Bryce Young needs a receiver. But I mean, you have I don't know. I think you just address it deeper in the draft or another way. They kind of didn't do what I was hoping they would in free agency to help Bryce Young, but they kind of came out publicly, said Jalen Walker's the guy. So that's that. Pick 9. Am I going to go Shedeur here? I would personally, and I guess since I am the one doing the mock draft, I guess I can do it, but I don't think the Saints will, which is crazy. I did see the thing. It's been however many years they haven't addressed a first-round pick at the quarterback position. So good thing I'm playing hypothetical GM today because I am going to take Shedeur Sanders. Perfect timing down in New Orleans. People either love him or hate him. I don't understand it. I know, a couple people think this is Jackson Dart. A couple people, Milroe, 21, even if Sanders is on the board to the Steelers. Ultimately, I think Panthers could trade out of this. If the Steelers really, really like Shedeur, they could come all the way up. It'll be interesting to see what happens kind of there with the 8th pick. But Saints have kind of come out public and said that they are not, unless it's smoke, which who knows. But I don't really know if they would draft Shedeur. Good thing I am GM today, and I will get them a franchise quarterback because Derek Carr is simply not that. And Shedeur Sanders, to me, taller, leaner, Bryce Young, good accuracy, not going to wow you with the arm strength, not going to wow you with the pocket mobility. I don't want to say presence because I think he does have good presence. People are quick to forget that Shedeur played behind some pretty bad offensive line play at Colorado. The game that comes to my mind especially is that Nebraska game where myself included, I bet on Colorado to win that game or maybe their team total over in points or something like that. And the first maybe 6 offensive drives, I'm not sure he even got a throw off. Just how bad the offensive line was. So I think he's a guy who, with a competent, good O-line, this is kind of a Brock Purdy comp in my opinion. A good, competent O-line, playmakers around him, he can be at minimum top 16 quarterback in my opinion, 18 maybe. Maybe this will come back and bite me in the ass, but I'm sticking with it, man. I like Shedeur. I'm in on Shedeur. If he goes 3, I would be kind of surprised. I think that's a little rich for me, especially generational edge guy like Carter, but I wouldn't pass on him at 9, especially the Saints. I don't know if Kellen Moore likes him or not. If he doesn't, he probably should because you're not going to like what you're going to get from Derek Carr. I'll put it that way. Faking a shoulder injury, whatever, dude. You don't deserve to be able to use that excuse for your career that you have. Like, come on now. Pick 10, Chicago Bears probably punch in the air. I'd be interested to see if they are the team to move up from 10 to 5 to snipe Jeanty in front of the Raiders. Would be interesting to think about. But you're here at pick 10, and I've said this before, and I'm kind of going to stick with it. I think if this is the way the board falls for you, I wouldn't reach on Hampton here just because of the running back. I would actually, PFF has it as a reach, but this big board is just mind-boggling sometimes. I would completely go overkill on the offensive line here. I would go Kelvin Banks. I'll say this. I think he's the best left tackle pass blocking prospect in this draft. I really do believe that. Mimbu, right tackle. Will Campbell, left tackle. But I do think that Banks is a better pass blocker than him. And at this point, if you're looking at the board like this, I would either A, trade down, or B, just overkill it, man. Plug and play Banks at your left tackle. I believe it's Braxton Jones. Every time this comes up, I can't remember. I think it's Braxton Jones because Darnell Wright plays right tackle. I would just plug and play Kelvin Banks at left tackle. It's an immediate upgrade, and you already solidified your interior with Dahlman from the Falcons, Thuney, and Jonah Jackson. Not Jonah Williams, Jonah Jackson from the Rams. So at the end of the day, if Jonah Jackson maybe doesn't pan out, you can kick Banks or Braxton Jones inside. Either way, just go overkill. I wouldn't take Tyler Warren here when you have Kmet. McMillan, not when you have Rome, who you're looking for a big year out of this year. So I would get Banks here, in my opinion. So pick 11 here, 49ers, man. Lost so much talent. A ton of different ways you could go. Jahad Campbell to replace Greenlaw. Will Johnson to replace Charchavius Ward. Walter Nolan because you don't have a defensive tackle worth anything, in my opinion. McMillan, they don't like Ayuk, but I don't think they're going to be able to trade him. Juwan Jennings. Ooh, man. Just a ton of different ways you could go. Josh Simmons, because your offensive line isn't very good. I know that's kind of a popular pick, getting a popular pick because he fits their system pretty well. But I love Walter Nolan in this spot. I really do. But I'm going to stick with my chalk. Will Johnson, cornerback 1 for me. Some people are on Barron. I like Will Johnson more. I think at 11, you need to use this pick to get a good player on defense that can change, not change the trajectory, but kind of replace some of the talent that you lost. Malachi Stark's potentially in play too with Hufanga signing with Denver, but a little too rich for me at 11 for a safety. I would go Will Johnson. I like him. Rangy corner, 6'2", knee injury. I don't think it's something to be concerned about. Replace Ward, get better on the boundary. Will Johnson, 11 for me, good pick. And Jerry Jones may have a stroke running up to the podium to clock this pick in. Tenero McMillan, he would just die to have a guy like that fall to him and be able to. It reminded me of the CeeDee Lamb pick, which I love CeeDee Lamb in the draft. But I believe different video. But anyway, Tedero McMillan at 12, really good value. Some people have him as high as 5. Like, I go back and forth with the Jags with Graham and McMillan, but he ends up sneaking out of the top 10 and goes to a pretty good fit in my opinion. Opposite of CD Lamb. I would actually really like this for Dak Prescott too. Not necessarily a running back here. Hampton would be a little rich, although I've did it before, and I wouldn't mind it if they did it at 12. But I would opt for McMillan. Wide receiver 2 for me behind Hunter. I would consider him a wide receiver in this. So McMillan 12, Dallas fans enjoy. 13, you lost Armstead. You're getting ready to lose Ramsey. Are you trading Tyreek Hill? Your defensive line sucks. This Dolphins team is going to be a team that's picking in the top 3 to 5 next year. That's how bad they're going to be. Your quarterback is one play away from his career being over because of concussions. Zach Wilson is your backup, so, let's, if he's playing snaps, you might have the number 1 pick next year. We'll see. Once again, similar to the 49ers, you lost so much. Like, you can go a ton of different ways with this. Do you pull the trigger on Josh Simmons this early to replace Armstead at left tackle? I don't know. Still like Nolan here. Your cornerback room is just, it's so bad. It's so bad, and you're losing Ramsey too. So I'm going to go Jahdae Barron here. I just talked about how Johnson is my cornerback 1, Jahdae Barron obviously the number 2 for me, and then a pretty good tier break. So Jahdae Barron, a little bit more versatile. You play him in the nickel, play him on the outside, play him a little bit everywhere. Really good in zone. Man, kind of his lesser expertise in terms of cornerback, but it's just your defense, specifically the cornerback room outside of Ramsey, who you're losing, is going to, and Ramsey wasn't even really playing that good last year. So Jahdae Barron at corner. They would probably be a team to hate to see Kelvin Banks gone, because that would be their replacement for Armstead. So there it is, Jahdae Barron 13 to the Dolphins. 14, I am going to take a tight end here, but it is not Tyler Warren. I'm going Colson Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. Oh my gosh, why would you pass on Tyler Warren? Holy smokes. Colson Loveland is flat out better than Tyler Warren. And you look at that and you're like, well, he had 582 yards at 5. Stop. You would turn on a Michigan game this past college football season on a Saturday, and it would be the third quarter, and Alex Orji or Davis Warren, I believe, was the other quarterback. It'd be the third quarter, and they would have 36 passing yards. Stop it. Stop. Don't let the stats deceive you. This is tight end 1. Good blocker for those who care about that from your tight end position, but a really good receiver too. Active in the pass game. I think ultimately a team that desperately needs a tight end. You haven't had that position, figured out in a long time, in my opinion. And then you keep saying, well, we want to see if Anthony Richardson's our guy. We bring in quarterback competition with Daniel Jones. So get him a weapon, specifically close to the line of scrimmage. We see those prime years of Gronkowski and Kelsey and every other good tight end. We see how much that can benefit a quarterback. So I'm going 14 here, Colson Loveland. Probably the first really big surprise in this mock draft for me, my final mock draft. Loveland over Warren, give it to me. I think he's better than Warren. I really do. 15, this is also pretty chalk for me. Jahad Campbell, not going to say much about it. Team that desperately needs linebacking help. Jahad Campbell, former 5-star edge rusher as well. Kind of can play him similar if you want to in that Jalen Walker role. But I would play him as your interior linebacker and just let him have 90-plus tackles for the rest of his career. So 16 here with the Cardinals. Ton of different ways you can go. Actually need receiver help if you really want to go Ibuka here, in my opinion. But your offensive line is just, it's pretty piss poor too, specifically that interior. But I'm going to take a tackle in Josh Simmons. You can make it work with Simmons and Paris Johnson, however, position-wise you want to play at left tackle, right tackle. But you got to get better on the offensive line. Kyler Murray's been running for his life the past couple of years, and really since he got in the league. So Josh Simmons, pre-knee injury, could be in consideration for tackle or offensive lineman 1 in this draft, both interior and tackle. That's how good he was. You go look at the run game and pass game and stuff for Ohio State pre-injury. Post-injury, there was a big difference. So as you see here in 2023, all snaps at left tackle before he got hurt. Obviously, all snaps at left tackle as well. Right tackle experience in 2022, so he could play that right tackle spot in Arizona if need be, if they feel pretty confident with Paris Johnson there at the left tackle spot. So Simmons there at 16, good value in my opinion. 17 here. Cincinnati Bengals. This has got to go defense. Would I go Nolan? No, because I'll consistently go Starks here, and I'm going to go ahead and keep it there. Playmaker in the secondary. Your defense mightily struggles just about everywhere. So even if you went defensive line, that would work too. But I'm going to go Malachi Starks here. Really good safety out of Georgia, and not going to say much about it really. You just enjoy the pick because he's going to make a difference. Pick 18. This is one I struggle with a decent amount here because there's a ton of different ways this can go. And I'm going to go back to something that I did early in my mock drafts, and now I kind of got away from it. I don't know why I did. I'm going to go back to it. I'm going Tyler Booker. I think he's a round one guy, specifically interior offensive line for a team that needs help on the interior. And I think the Seattle scheme fits him perfectly. And he's a guy where if he goes to the wrong scheme, he's a fifth-round talent player. But with Seattle, in the right scheme, he's a round one player, in my opinion. And I think it's going to show. He's going to be mauling in the run game for Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet when he comes in. So that this isn't a sexy pick. I know there's names on the board. Tyler Warren, Noah Fant hasn't done anything in 3 years. Walter Nolan, who you could pair with Byron Murphy. Mike Green, but you brought in DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys, I believe it was. So I'm going to go interior offensive lineman. Sam Darnold, not very good when he doesn't have protection. So plug and play, left guard. Trust it. I know it's disgusting, but trust it. 19 here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Green, I really like, but I just love this fit way, way, way more specifically for the Buccaneers. Give me Mykel Williams. Pairing up with Cansey, Vita Vea, Hassan Reddick, who I believe they brought. Mykel Williams, technically, and watching him play, is one of the best edge rushers in this class. He just did not, he's yet to have the production. That's been the thing. 5 sacks this past year, 15 hurries. He just did not have the production that you wish he would have had. If he does get that production, we are potentially talking about Mykel Williams the same way we talk about Abdul Carter, in my opinion. Mykel Williams is a good player, getting some hate here recently, but I view him as a top 20 player sneaking in right here, 19. Love the fit with the Buccaneers, specifically on that front 7. Love it. Pick 20 here. You could go receiver. Amarian Hampton on the board too is kind of beautiful if you're the Denver Broncos, but I ultimately think that Caleb Johnson in round 2 would be good for them as well. So I am going to pass on Hampton here, and I'm going to go Emeka Egbuka, my second, probably my personal favorite receiver in the class, but wide receiver 3 for me behind Tet and Travis Hunter. And I just think Egbuka next to Sutton would be pretty beautiful to watch. Egbuka, one of the most complete route trees in my opinion. 1,000 yards this past season with generational wide receiver prospect. 2 really good running backs. Cardinal Tate, who would be a wide receiver 1 on most Power 4 teams. So Egbuka, I just think he's about as steady as it gets in terms of consistent wide receiver play in this draft. And you get Bo Nix, another weapon. I like it. So pick 21. I'm going to go Hampton. Pair him up with Jaylen Warren. I still, in the back of my mind, time of recording this, who knows what Aaron Rodgers is doing, but the Steelers are one of the open spots still for quarterback. Do they take Jalen Milroe here? There's a real potential chance. I mean, he got the draft invite to come out to Wisconsin, and Steelers have came out publicly and kind of said they love him, so ultimately this could be Milroe, but I'm going to take Hampton, running back out of North Carolina. I think we see 2, potentially 3 in this draft class in round 1. Hampton back-to-back, I believe it was 1,600 yards in 2024, 15 in 2023, but I was going to say back-to-back 15 touchdowns these past 2 years, so really productive back. And I think you're kind of drafting him what you wish you would have got out of Najee long-term, right around the same area, I believe it is. I think they took Najee somewhere in this area in the first round when they drafted him. So Hampton, new RB1 in Pittsburgh. I like that a lot. Wide receiver. Pick 22 here with the Chargers. I'm sure Harbaugh is probably trying to bust in Indianapolis front door in the draft room to punch their GM for taking his guy. But at pick 22, I got to do it, I guess. I don't love him. People love him. Some people have him going 5 to the Jaguars, 10 to the Bears. It's 1 year of production, man. 2023, 422 yards. 2022, 123. I know that he didn't have the opportunity to play, but we're talking about potentially a 1 year wonder. As you can see, I mean, on the line, 161, 230 snaps in the slot, so you can move him around a little bit. Had a good season. I mean, I'm not hating on his season that he had this past year. I just worry about, it's 1 year. That's what I'm concerned about. This could potentially, it could be a great pick. So only time will tell. We'll see if I'm right or wrong about Warren. But if there's one team in one place I think can get the most out of him, it is potentially Harbaugh and the Chargers. And I think he kind of fits that physical mold of football that Harbaugh wants to play. And getting that on the offensive side of the ball, opposite of defense, would garner first-round pick, in my opinion, for them at 22. So 23 here. Everybody is mocked edge to the Green Bay Packers, and rightfully so, because wide receiver, I don't think Golden is the only wide receiver that I would take for them in the first round at this point would have been Ibuka, but off the board they're 20 to the Broncos. 23, I keep saying I love Mike Green. I do want to check one thing before I make this pick. Get these ads off, pair of jeans off the board. So they are in a 4-2. So yeah, I would pass on Mike Green here. I would go Ezeraku simply because of the defensive scheme. Ezeraku, uber productive at Boston College. I believe 14 sacks this past year, 26 hurries. One of the most underrated players in this draft. And I don't think pre-combine, I don't even know if that's the right way to put it. I just don't think a lot of people knew about him. And now that he tested and you kind of got to see a little bit of film from Boston College of him, you understand how good he is. So I like the fit of him with Green Bay at 23 more than I do Mike Green, which I will ultimately find him a fit right here because I believe, let me double check this, once again back to our lads, in Division 2. Yes, they do run the 3-4, and it is Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel. So yes, perfect. So I think Mike Green isn't somebody that I would want in a 4-3, 4-2, something like that. He's a 3-4 off-ball linebacker where you can bring in and rush him off the edge in that way. I really like Mike Green, actually. I think he's a sack artist. I think the way sack artist, pause, hold on. I think he is extremely good at getting the quarterback simply with his moves, like finesse, not necessarily power. He's pretty wow when you watch him rush the quarterback. I think a fit with Brian Flores there at pick 24 would be awesome to get to the quarterback, especially for a team. Flip it back over here real quick. Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, like they invested a little bit into this defensive line. So I think adding to it in the draft here at 24 would be extremely good for the Minnesota Vikings. So pick 25 here with the Houston Texans, who traded away Laremy Tunsil for a ton of picks. They brought in Christian Kirk. You still have Nico Collins. Tank Dell probably going to be out this year. So you're looking at like Mechie and Hutchinson to fill that void. This, similar to the Tyler Booker pick, is pretty disgusting, but your interior is pretty bad. Honestly, your outside is too. So you could go Zabel or Connerly, take your pick, simply because you traded away Tunsil, and I'm not sure you love your tackle situation right now. I'm going to go Connerly, man, out of Oregon. Really good pass blocker, really good technique. Only allowed one sack this past year, one in 2023. College, does that matter a ton when you're playing teams like you see here, Michigan State, UCLA, Oregon State, shit like that. But talent is there with Connerly. This is a little bit of a reach, in my opinion. I'm not sure. 25 is a little high for me. But then again, like this could be somebody we're talking about. 31 with the Chiefs. So for the Texans to get him here at 25, like I said, if they wanted to go interior with Zabel, I wouldn't hate it either. But Connerly ultimately the pick here at 25 to kind of reinvest in that offensive line. And 26 with the LA Rams. Brought in Devontae Adams, obviously a really good draft class this past year. So once they finally got their draft picks back in play, man, they've been kind of killing it. couple different. I don't think you really need tackle in this situation. Havenstein is still playing well, and Dotson is on your interior is still playing well. He had a good year last year, so I think that would kind of be a wasteful pick to kind of go. I don't want to say wasteful, but I wouldn't go on the interior here. Do they need? Here's the question. Because I'd love to make it work. Although I know Kobe Turner, Poona Ford is getting up there in age. I believe you brought in from the Chargers. Oh, man. You paid Tutu Atwell. I think it was like $10 million, too. I like Poona Ford, but I'm not going to pass on the talent here. I'm going to go Walter Nolan. It's one of my favorite players in the draft. At pick 26, I think you just kind of get positional need out of the way and just draft this off pure talent. I think Walter Nolan joining Verse Fisk would kind of be dominant. And at 26, man, I should have had Nolan off the board way sooner for a guy I'm super high on. But he gets out of here at 26, so don't hate on me too much for that. Pick 27 here with the Baltimore Ravens, who I believe they brought DeAndre Hopkins and signed him for this upcoming year. So it's Zay Flowers, Hopkins, and Rashad Bateman. But we all saw what you're getting with Hopkins with the Chiefs. Man, I think his production days are really out of the way. The problem with that is they also need help with defensive line, specifically D tackle and edge. So I look at a guy like Shamar Stewart, who can kind of bounce in and out and do both. Kenneth Grant, one of the better nose tackles in this draft class. You know, would they take a Luther Burden or a Golden here at 27 over that defensive line? I don't think they would. I'm gonna go Shamar Stewart just because you get that edge and kind of inside versatility with them. I like that at 27, like the fit with Harbaugh and the Ravens in their defense. Pick 28 here. I will kind of take a swing here. A little bit of talk of JMO potentially getting traded. Who knows? That's kind of something to watch. I don't necessarily buy it. Tim Patrick is your wide receiver 3. Not bad, but could obviously upgrade in that position. Everybody has them going edge. I think, and me included there for a while, but I think Hutchinson will be all right. So I'm gonna opt for Matthew Golden here, pick 28. Another speed, him and JMO, along with Amon-Ra. Holy smokes, man! Gibbs, you would be looking at this like a better Miami Dolphins offense, in my opinion, with all the speed around there. So pick 28, Matthew Golden. Flashy. You'd be drafting him as a wide receiver 3, but ultimately, if you can get the production out of him that you want, you can warrant the first round selection here at pick 28 for him. So pick 29, Washington Commanders. Laremy Tunsil comes over. I think I'm going to go defensive side of the ball here. Specifically on the defensive line in a draft class that is just feels like it's loaded with both edge and I'm blanking here finding the team with edge and defensive line. Deron Payne's still there. You brought in Kinlaw, which is kind of your edges of Armstrong and Wise are kind of meh as well. Actually, let me check one more thing. Ooh, weird fit here, but I'm gonna see if I can make it work because I do think he's a first round talent, and I always have him going 24 to the Vikings here. Give me Nick Amonowore, 29 here to the Washington Commanders to step in and replace what would ultimately be Quan Martin here at free safety and potentially strong. I mean, you can move him around both if you want. You brought in Will Harris from the Saints. But Amonowore, I think, is a first-round talent. I think we see 2 safeties go here in the first round. Really good tester at the combine once again. Really rangy safety, 6'3", 227. Can come down and help in the run game a little bit. I like that fitting there, actually, for Dan Quinn and the defensive side of the ball. 30 here for the Buffalo Bills. Would be interesting to see if with Burton still on the board, if they would take him with, do they bail on Coleman this early in his career after a not so great rookie season? They brought in Palmer. I don't know. It'd kind of be interesting to see, but I am going to go Kenneth Grant to pair with Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, Joey Bosa. I think that would be a nasty, nasty defensive line. And if you want to beat Mahomes in the AFC Championship, ask the Eagles how they did it because they blitzed 3 and they got home every single play in the Super Bowl, and Mahomes ultimately had no time to do anything. So speaking about the Chiefs and Mahomes, pick 31. I have my hat on, which I do want to say one thing. I think my friends and kind of family can attest to this. This is my first time wearing any sort of Chiefs gear since the Super Bowl. That's how embarrassing of an ass whooping they received from the Philadelphia Eagles. So 31. They, once again, would they pass on Burton here? They're always open to surrounding Mahomes with some weapons, and they brought Hollywood Brown back, who I really like for them. Worthy, Rasheed coming off the knee injury, so it would be interesting to see if they pulled the trigger here on Burton. Oh, man. With Kenneth Grant just getting picked too, but I'm not going to pass on Derek Harmon here. I think Chris Jones kind of getting up there. They do sometimes like to go to that 4-3. Actually might still be their preferred formation there on defense. But either way, you need help on the defensive line in general. Turk Wharton went to the Panthers. Mike Dana, not saying Harmon will play the edge, but Mike Dana and FAU off the edge hasn't been necessarily what you wanted. So Harmon, who has some shades of Chris Jones in his pass game, would be pretty good to learn from a guy that you're getting comped to. Would make their interior defensive line really, really good off the jump, and I think he would play a ton in year one. And, Zabel, they're going to roll with Suamata. I don't know. I don't agree with it. Whatever. As long as it's not Caliendo, I don't care. So, 31, Derek Harmon to the Chiefs. And the Philadelphia Eagles are sitting here, and you're like, wow, you guys are going to let us do this again. We're just going to take the best player on the board at a position of need because Jahan Dotson didn't necessarily do what we wanted him to. And we're going to take our wide receiver 3, Luther Burden, who one of the more up and down prospects in this draft. Some people, I could see him going as high as 16 to the Cardinals, or I could see him kind of being here, borderline first round at the end of the draft. I think we will see one of these wide receiver slips. In this case, it is Burden, but he still goes in the first round, so I don't want to necessarily say it's a slip. But Eagles just pick him up at the end of the first round. Good talent. Pretty good draft value as well, most would say. So this is kind of it, man. This is what I'm thinking. Final go-around. We will kind of react to first round after we see what happens tomorrow. This is it, man. This is kind of where I'm at. Specifically, I like this top 10. This would kind of be it wouldn't be my preferred top 10 because I would take Jeanty 4 there with the Patriots. But I understand, and I understand getting May's protection on the edge. So this is it, man. I'm glad that I kind of went back on my way here getting Booker in 18 to the Seahawks. I really like that pick, really like that fit. Wonder if they don't take him where we will see him go. I'm not going to speak about it too much, man. This is it. So I hope you guys enjoy. Wanted to obviously get one more out before we start reacting to what these teams do, and we'll kind of be able to go back after the end of next year and see where I went right and where I went wrong about players, fits, and things like that. So, guys, as always, appreciate you guys watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think your favorite team will do, and we'll see you guys in the next one.